Still, my back and neck were still hurting, and my left hand was tightly wrapped in bandages. However, I was told that it should be fine to go to school since I could walk without any issues. Returning home after a long time, I opened my phone, and the first thing I saw was a mass email from the popular guy who had initially exclaimed, "It's a curse!" The email was sent to all our classmates. The content detailed the specifics of the ritual. By the way, this popular guy hadn't come to school once since the day we saw the woman. I won't go into all the details of the ritual, but to summarize briefly, it was a ritual similar to Kokuri-san. The key difference was that it involved summoning a god through spiritualism, not a ghost. Moreover, it wasn't about fortune-telling. It was a ritual to ask the summoned god to fulfill a wish. The process involved reciting a poem to call the god while offering sake. After stating the wish, you had to offer something in return for the god's favor. The offering could be anything, but the more precious, the easier the wish would be granted. In this case, the offering was the soul of the class representative. Originally meant as a half-joke, no one expected it to work. The wish the popular guy had made was for an exciting and stimulating school life. Apparently, when the ritual succeeds, the candle flame goes out. However, the email claimed that the flame went out the moment he uttered the wish, even though there was no wind. After the email arrived, there was a chaotic flood of replies. Some vehemently criticized the popular guy, while others attempted to defend him. There were also voices questioning and attacking him. In the midst of this, one classmate suggested, "Talking over email won't solve anything. Shouldn't we all gather once?" Everyone agreed, and it was decided to meet at school the next day. When the email situation calmed down, I contacted Matsuzaka. I asked if there was any progress on finding a solution. After investigating, it seemed that with the power of amateurs, there was little that could be done. Matsuzaka believed that the best option was to seek help from a professional in that field. Cooperating with his parents, he called various places that seemed likely to perform exorcisms. Unfortunately, most places refused. The information had spread that a priest from the temple where the girl sought help had suffered a serious injury. While there were some places that were willing to at least listen to the story, it seemed like almost all of them backed out once they heard about the ritual performed by the popular guy. There were certainly a few who said, "Leave it to us," but he decided against it because the cost was exorbitantly high, and it seemed like a scam. However, he said that it's not that there were no countermeasures at all. I asked for details, but he said he would explain everything in front of everyone the next day. After that, he shared some ominous information.
Why did the woman appear at our place among the many classmates on Friday? It's probably because Hosoki saw her when the two from the baseball club fell off the bridge. That's why she appeared where Hosoki and we were. If the woman shows up to the last person who saw her, then maybe next time she'll appear either at my place or yours. Of course, we don't know the principle on which the woman operates. But since Friday, there have been exciting incidents unrelated to the woman, like our homeroom teacher dying and his wife showing up at school. Maybe these events were stimulating enough for the popular guy, so the woman didn't appear.
Thinking about it, if exciting events ceased for the popular guy, maybe the woman would come to us to provide stimulation. Matsuzaka's explanation was quite convincing. If that's the case, we should constantly expose the popular guy to exciting events. Still, it was deemed impossible to sustain such a level of stimulation, almost at the level of someone's death. Feeling unresolved, I ended the call with Matsuzaka and spent that night trying to come up with my own countermeasures. First, exorcism was out of the question everywhere, and there was no one to ask for help. Continuously stimulating the popular guy was not practical. The quickest solution would probably be for the popular guy to transfer schools, but he had said in an email that transferring wasn't possible. As long as the popular guy remained in our class, the woman would likely appear. Then, maybe the popular guy should just die. Because of his stupid prank, innocent people like Hosoki and our homeroom teacher ended up dead, and both Matsuzaka and I have been through hell. I thought it would be justified if he was killed. Unable to sleep a wink, the day dawned, and it was the day we would gather with everyone. Since my injuries weren't fully healed, My parents drove me to school and said they would wait in the school parking lot until the discussion was over. This day, we used a meeting room instead of a classroom. Although we weren't supposed to come to school during the class suspension, the principal gave us special permission. When I entered the meeting room, quite a few people had already gathered, all expressing concern for me. Matsuzaka was there too, talking with other classmates. During the discussion, to prevent any untoward incidents, a teacher waited in the corridor just outside the meeting room. By the time of the gathering, most of the classmates had arrived, but the girl who underwent the exorcism didn't show up. The popular guy hadn't arrived either. The meeting started off as a venting session about the popular guy.
Why isn't he here?
The main culprit's skipping out, so nothing's going to get started.
I mean, if he just died, wouldn't that solve everything? Seriously, he should just die.
Sensing that the situation could spiral out of control, the boy who initially suggested gathering, I'll call him Takagi here, raised his voice.
The reason I asked everyone to come today isn't just for any reason, but to discuss how we can protect ourselves going forward. I get why you all hate him, and I can't forgive him either for the death of our classmates and teacher due to his stupid prank. But just complaining about him won't change our situation. Given this absurd situation, let's focus on finding a solution.
Then one of the boys raised his hand and said,
"Why don't we just kill the popular guy? We can all get our stories straight."
From the class, there were voices of agreement, saying he deserved to die, and it's better to get rid of him before more sacrifices are made. Others defended the popular guy, arguing that no matter how much they hated him, killing was absolutely not an option. Transferring or expelling him would suffice. Takagi then said,
Indeed, if he disappears, the problem might be largely solved. However, killing him is too risky. No matter how well we align our stories, something will eventually slip through. Let's consider it as one option, but let's also look for more peaceful solutions.
He skillfully brought the discussion back under control. Other suggestions were put forth. Persuade the school to expel the popular guy. Find someone who can exorcise and ask them for help. Keep stimulating the popular guy. Prepare individual countermeasures against the woman. Just as Takagi was saying,
So, which of these options might be the best?
Matsuzaka stood up.
The woman we saw, she's a god, right? I don't know what kind of god she is, but it seems she grants wishes if you pay a price. Then, shouldn't we call her again and just wish for a boring, ordinary school life?
Classmates stared at Matsuzaka in disbelief. To summarize Matsuzaka's points. First, about the plan to kill the popular guy. As Takagi pointed out, the likelihood of getting caught is high. If caught, not just the university entrance exams, but the lives of everyone here could be completely ruined. Therefore, it's not a realistic option. Next, the idea of getting the popular guy expelled. It would be difficult to persuade the school authorities. While incidents have occurred, getting someone expelled for occult reasons would likely be challenging for the school. So, collectively bullying him into leaving seems more realistic. However, there's no time to push the popular guy to the point of expulsion. If we continue like this, the woman might appear any day now, leading to another victim. If there are victims and the class closes again, bullying won't progress. We need an immediate solution. Regarding the plan to find someone to perform an exorcism, he had tried every possible place but was turned down by each one. Apparently, that number was over 200. Even if we find someone now, by the time we do, there might be more victims, and it involves expenses. Not all parents believe in the woman, so this method won't save everyone. Regarding the plan to keep providing stimulation to the popular guy, as previously explained, it would physically be difficult. We also don't know what level of stimulation is needed to prevent the woman from appearing. If the stimulus needed is at the level of the death of someone close among class members, practically, it's impossible to keep providing such a stimulus. Lastly, regarding the plan for each of us to take individual measures, is there anyone here who knows an effective countermeasure? Planning to pile up salt against a god who easily kills people? It's unlikely that high school students with no training in such matters would have any effect in resisting. If we go by the process of elimination, the best option seems to be getting the popular guy expelled. However, even if the popular guy is expelled, it's not certain the woman won't appear. Moreover, the incidents centered around the popular guy are just a hypothesis. Since the popular guy's wish didn't include the phrase "for himself," it's possible that stimulating school life for everyone in the class is what he desires. The fact that all classmates are continuously receiving the worst kind of stimulation is also true. So what should we do? If that's the case, we should just ask for the wish itself to be undone. Call the woman again and cancel the wish. If this works, a peaceful school life should return. However, within the class, there were both voices saying, "I see," and voices asserting, "It's absolutely impossible." When Takagi asked,
How do we summon her?
Matsuzaka replied,
We should all perform the ritual again.
in response to the concern, even if the ritual is successful, there's no guarantee that the woman will come. What if we end up summoning a different god? He said.
We'll ask that god to drive the woman away.
At this point, I asked a question that had been on my mind. How do we determine if the summoned god is the woman or not?
You'll be the one to judge that.
Honestly, I was bewildered, but I had a hunch. There was the handprint of the woman remaining on my left leg.
In a sense, I think you're currently connected to that woman. If she appears, there might be some change in that handprint. It's quite uncertain, but this seems to be the most straightforward way, doesn't it?
Honestly, I wasn't confident, but I replied that if we were to implement this method, I would give it a try. While Matsuzaka was explaining, the door of the meeting room opened. In walked the popular guy. The popular guy apologized in a voice that seemed on the verge of disappearing, saying, "Sorry for being late." However, a barrage of abusive words came from all around the class. Then, one male student walked up to him and delivered a powerful punch to his face with a fist. Another student, amidst profanity, repeatedly kicked the fallen guy. The teacher rushed in from the corridor and intervened to stop the male student. The popular guy sobbed without saying a word. When the teacher helped him stand, someone said,
We don't need sympathy for him.
while the popular guy cried, asking for help. The surrounding students said,
We're the ones who need help.
What are you playing the victim for? You killed 5 people.
These heartless words were thrown at him. The teacher raised his voice, but Takagi shouted,
Hey, he seems to have something to say.
Ignoring the teacher's inquiry, the popular guy, without saying anything, walked to the center of the meeting room. Despite tears streaming down his face, he struggled to speak. Throughout that time, heartless words were hurled from those around.
We're the ones who want to cry.
If you've got something to say, spit it out already, you scum!
I felt a bit sorry for the popular guy, despite the fact that he had done something so terrible. He kneeled and bowed deeply. Apologizing multiple times, he said,
I didn't intend for everyone to go through this. I regret doing something so foolish.
He mentioned not having a face to show to the classmates and the teacher who had passed away. The looks towards him remained cold, but among the girls, there were those who said,
It's enough. Let's forget about what happened and think of countermeasures together.
I couldn't forgive the popular guy. However, at this moment, there was genuine sympathy for him. Ultimately, we stopped blaming the popular guy, and the discussion resumed. We informed the teacher that everything was okay, and asked him to leave. The discussion continued, and Matsuzaka's explanation became the focus. Suppose we perform the ritual again, and if the woman appears, it might not be easy to get her to cancel the wish. On that matter, Matsuzaka said that simply saying, "Please cancel it," would likely have a low chance of success. If that's the case, we should offer an appropriate compensation. Matsuzaka suggested offering a cancellation fee that would satisfy the woman. Although I doubted whether such a negotiation would work with a god, all classmates seemed to agree. It's hard to convey in writing, but Matsuzaka's explanation had an incredible persuasiveness, despite the occult nature of the discussion. I think it was because of his logical way of talking and thinking. The atmosphere in the class was almost ready for the ritual. However, the most critical issue of what to offer as compensation had not been decided yet. The popular guy offered his soul, but Matsuzaka promptly rejected that proposal. Even if a peaceful life were to return by offering the soul of the popular guy as compensation, the popular guy, with his soul taken, wouldn't be safe, and if he ended up dying, that couldn't be called a peaceful life anymore. In that case, the god would have broken the promise of ensuring a peaceful school life. If that were to happen, we couldn't predict what would occur. So, at the very least, all the classmates present here would have to graduate in a state of survival. However, what is valuable at the level of the soul is challenging. Matsuzaka mentioned that since it's a cancellation fee, it might not be necessary to go as far as the soul. However, he also said that if we want to increase certainty, it's better to offer something precious. Then Matsuzaka made an outrageous proposal. His proposal was for the 31 people in the class to chip in and collectively pay 100 years of lifespan as compensation. Basically, each classmate here would give up 3 years of their life. But since it would be more satisfying for everyone if the popular guy paid a larger share, he alone would offer 10 years. 30 people giving 3 years each makes 90, plus 10 years from the popular guy. That makes a total of 100 years to be paid as compensation. Life might have a lower rank compared to the soul, but Matsuzaka suggested that it would be sufficient as a cancellation fee. For example, if I were expected to live until 100 but ended up dying at 97, it seemed like a reasonable proposal. If successful, this plan would likely allow us to spend the remaining time until graduation without further sacrifices. Additionally, since we high school students couldn't even imagine what the last 3 years of life would be like, everyone in the class agreed to this plan. Once decided, we immediately started preparations for the ritual. Since one of the girls in our class was the daughter of a liquor store owner, we instructed her to prepare the best sake. Several male students, including Takagi, were sent to buy the necessary candles and chalk. Under the guidance of the popular guy, the remaining members were tasked with creating a special hiragana chart for the ritual. Once everything was ready, it was decided that we would perform the ritual in the meeting room. The class split up temporarily to make individual preparations. I stayed in the meeting room, watching the creation of the hiragana chart. Although I thought about helping, my left hand was mostly unusable, so I sat on a nearby chair and observed. As I absent-mindedly watched the work, a sharp pain shot through my left ankle. Involuntarily, I uttered, "Ugh," and when I looked at my foot, I saw a pale hand reaching out from under the chair, firmly gripping my left ankle. I still vividly recall the sensation of blood draining from my whole body. I couldn't turn around in fear, but undoubtedly, the woman was behind me. In sheer terror, unable to articulate, I made a mouth movement like, and one of the girls screamed upon seeing me. The class was in a state of panic. Some tried to escape, others collapsed in fear, and even Matsuzaka seemed frozen, not knowing what to do. In the midst of this chaos, a particularly loud voice from a girl resonated.
I hate you so much! Die!
Saying this, she punched the popular guy forcefully. For a moment, the room fell silent. The one who punched the popular guy was the introverted girl with glasses. Her sudden action left everyone astonished. The popular guy tried to say something, but before he could, she landed another punch, saying,
Shut up!
In the frozen atmosphere of the meeting room, the woman had disappeared. Whether this was considered stimulation for the popular guy or for everyone in the class was uncertain. However, the girl's action had an impact on everyone, and it was evident that the woman had disappeared. Amidst the confusion, Matsuzaka shouted,
"Hurry up with the preparations!"
Within 10 minutes, all classmates who had gone outside returned, and the ritual was conducted immediately. Participating in the ritual were the popular guy, Matsuzaka, Takagi, and me. The other members were waiting in the same meeting room. The popular guy took the lead in performing the ritual. Matsuzaka and I were selected because we were assumed to have a strong connection with the woman. The idea was that if we, with our strong ties, participated, it might increase the chances of summoning her. Takagi was just added to make up the numbers. And so the ritual began. We lit the prepared candle, and the popular guy, offering sake, recited a poem to summon the woman. He continued chanting the same phrase. However, I felt no change in my left foot. About 10 minutes passed, and suddenly the air in the room became heavy. This was sensed not only by me but by everyone in the room, as all eyes turned toward me. However, there was no change in my left foot. I wasn't even sure whether there would be a change in my leg if the woman came, but everyone felt that something non-human was present. I told everyone, I don't know if it's the woman or not. Whether it was her or a different god, our only wish was for an ordinary school life. Since that was the plan from the beginning, the ritual proceeded without anyone getting flustered. The popular guy wished for an ordinary school life, offering as compensation 10 years of his life and 3 years each from the 30 people present, totaling 100 years of lifespan. The success of the ritual was supposed to be signaled by the candle flame going out. However, the candle broke while still lit. What exactly happened? Why did the candle break when there was no wind? Various thoughts crossed my mind, but nothing added up. Before I could gather my thoughts, a tremendous scream filled the room, and the woman appeared in the center of the room. But this time, she was different from before. Blood was streaming from her head, and her clothes were stained red in places. She flailed her abnormally long arms, screaming, "Ah!" The sight of her bulging, bloodshot eyes still sometimes haunts my dreams. Just when it seemed like she was struggling, she fell through the floor as if it had never been there. When I looked again, the flame of the candle, which had continued to burn despite being broken, had gone out. It seemed the ritual had been a success. Epilogue. Afterwards, unable to confirm whether we had successfully purified the spirit, we headed to a relatively large shrine in the city. When we explained the incident to the head priest, some of our questions were answered. Firstly, regarding the woman summoned by the popular guy. Contrary to our assumption that she was a god, it was suggested that, based on the story, she was not a god, but a powerful evil spirit. It was said that she might have been an evil spirit that wanted to become a god, even going so far as to take souls. Despite not being a god, she attempted to fulfill the wish of the popular guy as if she were one. However, since she was not a true god, her powers were limited. As a result, the evil spirit likely resorted to stimulating the surroundings within its capabilities, leading to the deaths of people nearby. Probably in the ritual with all classmates, a legitimate god was summoned. It seems challenging for amateurs, but perhaps it went well because of the quality of the sake. The legitimate god who was summoned likely saw through the imposter evil spirit pretending to be a god and cast it down to hell. The candle broke because the evil spirit resisted. Still, our wish was granted, which is probably why the flame went out. That was the gist of the priest's explanation. It was, after all, an attempt to make sense of this particular incident. After that, we led an ordinary school life and eventually graduated. The popular guy faced cold stares from those around him, but thanks to Matsuzaka saying,
Even if there's just one incident of bullying, it might be hard to call it an ordinary school life. He wasn't subjected to any particular bullying.
As for Matsuzaka, despite being the head of the science club, he delved into the path of Shinto after this incident. It seems he was deeply affected by the fact that no one came to help when he desperately made calls for exorcism.
I want to extend a hand to those who need help,
He said, sounding quite heroic. After graduating from high school, I went on to junior college. After graduating from junior college, I started working as a temporary municipal employee in the city. I'm leading a normal, uneventful life as an ordinary employee. I haven't kept in touch with Matsuzaka much, but we met again last week when I visited Hosoki's grave, and we looked back on this incident. What we lost in this incident was truly significant. However, for the classmates and the teacher who passed away, even with a lifespan shortened by 3 years, I will do my best to live. To those who stayed with me until the end, thank you very much. Well then, everyone, have a good life.